Hey! Welcome to another Worst Need for Speed Ever video, the series where we take a look at what the community believes to be some of the worst Need for Speed games ever made. I feel like I have to explain this every time I make a new video because I still get comments saying, actually X game is way worse than this, how could you say this game is bad when Nitro exists? When I literally made a video on it. Okay, rant's over. After I made a poll asking your favorite Need for Speed game from the Ghost era, I knew which game was next on the series. I didn't expect 2015 to be ahead of Unbound, but hey, I definitely understand why. I still remember when the trailer for Payback dropped a few years ago. My feelings were instantly mixed after a few seconds into the trailer. Like it or not, 2015 was the closest we got to the underground games again at the time. And a sequel to it was expected to be a complete banger. And even though I was extremely hyped for it, I was extremely confused to what this game was supposed to be. Explosions, fire, more explosions, destruction, jumps, what the hell is this? It felt like they were going the Fast and Furious route with it, which was not what I wanted from the series. But still, I kept my hopes up because it couldn't be that bad, right? So we start with an introduction to our main characters, Tyler Morgan, Sean McAllister or Mac, and Jessica Miller. You play a small section with each character and it teaches you how the game works. You have 3 characters, each using different cars in different environments. I gotta admit, they do a pretty good job with it. If that's a good idea though, is a completely different thing. You are then introduced to Lena and Rav, the secondary characters in the game. You have to practice for a job, a heist to steal a supercar from Marcus, which is a casino owner that is gambling on you to win a race. He lends you a Regera and midway through the race, you jump out of the track and have to escape the cops with the help of Jess and Mac. After you escape, you get to Rav, but he passed out. Lena double crosses you and take the car away, so you try to outrun the police to keep them away from Rav and Mac. You meet Marcus again and he blackmails to work for him to get revenge on Lena, and so you do. 6 months go by and you're working for him as a driver. Tyler can't race anymore, Jess is doing jobs for criminals running away from the cops, and Mac is drifting to help people get likes on social media. Oh, poor Mac. Now, someone called the Collector is controlling a cartel called The House, who fixes the street races for money. And the idea is that you want to take down Lena Navarro, while Marcus wants to take down The House. So you work together winning races from street groups to make The House lose money on bets. The introduction to this game is pretty long. It's about an hour until you can pick your first car and be free to do whatever you want. But I think it works pretty well. It gives you a good idea of the convoluted story you're getting yourself into and who the characters are. The graphics on this game are better than I remembered actually. The game takes place on Fortune Valley, which is supposed to be Las Vegas. The reflections in this game look really nice, and it's probably what I noticed the most during gameplay. The cars look amazing if you ask me, not only because I was the one who customized them, and driving around the city at night is probably where the game shines the most. It does have some weird pop-ins though. It's way more noticeable later in the game with faster cars. If you look far ahead of where you're going, you can see things rendering in front of you. But that's something I always notice in every game from the time. And with that being said, I still think 2015 looked better than this one. But here's where my problem with the community starts. And yes, by that I mean you. Yes, you. You know what games don't need? Unnecessary realism added just for the sake of being realistic. Remember when 2015 came out and people used to complain a lot because the game only took place at night and how stupid that was? That you couldn't drive during the day? That still outrages me because the whole game was made to be like that. It's not like the devs forgot that the sun existed. It's because of the setting they were going for. Even though I'm not the biggest fan, 2015 had a lot of personality just by looking at it. I can give you a screenshot of every Ghost Need for Speed game and you'll take a minute to figure out which one is which, but I'm sure you'll instantly know which one is 2015. And still, they were still able to nail the vibe they were going for with this game. Keep in mind, I'm praising this, but I'm not a fan of it. I have to give the props for the devs for achieving what they wanted with it. The game has this desert vibe to it, even when you're at the city. And not only because of the looks, but because they nailed the music in this game. The music, something every Need for Speed needs to get right. It is honestly really good, with the theme being Kicks by Barnes Courtney and having a mixture of hip hop and rock. And the rock songs in this game all fit the desert theme of the game. I don't know what it's called, but if I had to guess, it would be something like country rock, but someone can probably tell me in the comments. I can't play any of the songs for obvious reasons, but if you wanna look it up, some of my favorites are Roadrunner by Tom Morello, In My Mind by The Amazons, and Lean Back by Sir. Or SUR, I really don't know. Really though, you can't go wrong with any of it. It's actually probably one of my favorite soundtracks in a Need for Speed game ever, and that's definitely saying something. So, we're getting to the gameplay now, and it's definitely not what I wanted from Need for Speed. Everyone knows this by now, but the series has been suffering because of the handling of the cars since 2015. And the devs don't seem to be sure how to make it work. You have to drift in basically every corner. Slowing down to make turns is not an option in these games, and here, you can simply hold left or right for long enough and your car will start drifting. It's not even necessary to hit the brakes anymore. Whenever you're not drifting, the game feels pretty good. The cars feel heavy and fun to drive around, but whenever you see a turn, you're instantly like, ugh. However, when you're supposed to drift, like in drift races, it feels pretty good. My problem isn't that the drift itself feels bad, but that you have to drift even in normal races. You play as Mac in the drift races, and let me tell you, here's another problem I have with this game. You can't just vibe around in the game drifting while listening to music, because your character always has something to say. Always. Sometimes you're trying to concentrate on the game, focusing on what you're doing, and you're hit by your character dropping the entire lore of the game while you're doing something else. It is so annoying and unnecessary, and it's something that Forza is terrible at too. I do understand that it makes sense to have different characters with different personalities in this game, but I believe your character in Need for Speed is supposed to be you, not Tyler Morgan, not generic character 156 or whatever. And when you make the player character act in different ways or talk in different ways, it makes it extremely hard to relate to it. I said this in my Unbound video, where the character that's just supposed to be you has a set personality to him that defeats the purpose of having your character. It's completely backwards and I hate it. Okay, rant's over. You also play off-road races with Mac in this game, because of course you do. Every game needs off-roading now. Okay, third rant incoming. Why the hell is there off-road races in Need for Speed? Not only that, but I have to play the off-road races in these games. If I wanted to play a rally game, I would play Dirt or something that is made to be an off-road game. Not a game that I expect to see street races. And not only that, not every open world game needs to have that much liberty in it. What I mean by this is, for example, you need to get from point A to point B in a minute. There's a big road that you have to follow to do that. But instead, the map is completely open, so you can just race straight through the dirt to get to the point. And I know, but blue tag, you can just follow the road if you don't like it. Yeah, I know. But sometimes I don't even do it on purpose, and when I notice, I'm in the middle of nowhere stuck going at 60 miles per hour because I'm not using a dirt car. But anyway, there's also missions where you have to take down cops and escape them, and you play those as Jess. I don't think they're bad, but at the same time I think they could have made these way better. Sometimes you have to go through different points on the map in a certain amount of time, and you can do that in any order you like, which is pretty cool. The only problem is that every time you get to a point, you have to sit there and wait for a cutscene to play, and a lot of times there's nothing even happening and you're just sitting there with nothing happening. The game just cuts your gameplay for no reason and gives you a 15-second cooldown before you can race again. Oh, and talking about cutting gameplay from you, the slow motion camera whenever you take down a cop. Why? Why does anyone think that it's fun for a game to take the controller away from you each 20 seconds because you're doing what the game is asking you to do? Sometimes it happens while you're turning and you have no idea what's ahead of you anymore. Sometimes the game doesn't even control your car and you're thrown into a wall. I really hate this idea they have where cinematic cameras are more important than gameplay. And of course, the worst offender to me, the card system. Who the hell in the EA department was so goddamn high, so out of their minds that they thought, you know what would be a good idea? Replacing the entire upgrade system with a card-based system like it would do in FIFA. I am 100% sure that this is an EA thing, because no dev would throw all of the work they made in 2015 in the trash in favor of something this stupid. I wanna get someone from EA just to sit with me and spend an hour just rolling this stupid wheel to get upgrades and see if they'll have fun with it. I cannot express enough how much of a stupid idea this was. Every time you finish a race, you get to pick a random card, which means absolutely nothing. So basically you get a random cards that you put in your car that may or may not be better than the ones you already have. You can convert your cards into rows, and you can roll a spin wheel to get different cards that may or may not be better than the ones you already have. And of course you also get a card store that updates every few minutes with cards that may or may not be better than the ones you already have. Easily the worst thing they did to these games, and I'm so glad the community fought this one back and they haven't appeared again. Thank you, fellas. This is what we can do if we stop eating whatever crap they throw at us. Anyway, spoilers for the story if you wanna play this one. One thing I found weird is what they do with the villains in these new games. Payback has Lina Navarro, who works for the house, which is controlled by the Collector, but you don't see the Collector throughout the whole game and he doesn't even appear in the other games. They make him seem like the big bad guy and you don't even get to take him down. The same happens in Unbound, which makes me think that they're working on the NCU, the Need Cinematic Universe, and they will appear as bigger villains in another game. You work your way into taking down Lina by winning races and making new friends. You race against street crews, some of them turn against the house and work with you to take them down. Others stay against you, and by the end of the game they all clash together into a big final race. It's actually cool if you were into the story of this game. Can't say I cared too much, but it might crack a smile out of you. In the end, you take out Lina and the Collector calls you to try to pay you to lose the race. So you refuse and Lina loses her job. Probably gets beat up too. She only shows up 3 times in the game though. It's a pretty bad villain if you ask me. The focus of the game ends up being in the crews instead of actually caring about Lina. And she also made this happen. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention. This probably has nothing to do with the devs and more about EA being completely disconnected with their community. A few months after this game came out, they decided to add Jake Paul into this game. You know, it's really stupid that they have such a loving community that plays every game that they vomit out, and yet they only added a sticker of Black Panther and absolutely nothing from Kuru into these games. But of course, they have Jake Paul in the game. Because that's what every fan thinks when they think of the Need for Speed community. It's just so stupid. Now they did the exact same thing with Unbound, where you have A$AP Rocky in the game but completely ignored their real community. I'm pretty sure that's simply a way to appeal to a bigger audience, but let me tell you why this doesn't work. When Unbound was revealed, I heard from everyone, including my friends, that Need for Speed needed that. Because all the other games were the same and the new graphics looked very cool. Guess how many of them bought the game? Absolutely no one. Only I did. Because even though you're trying to appeal to a bigger audience, you won't get a single sale out of them if you can't even appeal to your own fans. I'm not gonna sit here and tell everyone it's a great game that people should buy if you refuse to listen to the ones that have been here for the longest time. I know some people got mad at me for talking crap about it in the Unbound video, and I'm sorry you don't agree, but I wonder, did you play the game? Because I definitely did. Twice. You can hate me for it, but I'm only putting out my real feelings for the series. Anyway, overall, this game isn't very good. But we've dipped so hard recently that it doesn't feel that bad anymore. If you have EA Play or Xbox Game Pass, give it a try. You might find some enjoyment out of it if you keep in mind the game they were making here. They definitely nailed the vibes, the soundtrack, the graphics. Just don't expect to play this one online because I couldn't find any matches for 2 days. It'll probably keep you occupied for a few weeks if you don't rush the game. There's a lot of content in it and some good progression that won't give you everything at once, making you explore a while to unlock more things. It's definitely a fun game that has a very bad side to it, but still fun. But I guess that's it for this one. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thank you for our new members. Ariok, and XX, I think. Being a member is the best way you can support the channel right now, so really, thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.